Tonight, Budget Day in Canada.
Which gives us another sign of momentum that we're going to build this big nation-building project here in Manitoba.
Local leaders react as Ottawa unveils billions in new spending, a growing deficit, and plans to cut Canada's public service. Also tonight, rebate confusion.
Felt like it's their rules, but they keep moving the goalposts on me.
How a local man was left in limbo trying to take advantage of the province's electric vehicle subsidy program. Plus,
unfortunately, children can slip through the cracks right now.
Details on a new program to catch learning disabilities in young children.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Mark Carney introduced his first budget today, and it contains big dollar figures for infrastructure and defense. CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live to break down the details and bring us reaction from here in Manitoba. So, Jeff, what are the big takeaways?
The budget has billions of dollars for infrastructure, and that includes $115 billion over 5 years with a Build Community Strong Fund to support a range of local projects according to the budget. 2 Winnipeg projects are singled out as examples, the Riverview Community Centre and Dakota Community Centre. Premier Wab Kinew congratulated Carney on his first budget and said he was happy. The Port of Churchill project was mentioned in the document and says he will be pushing for a chunk of that infrastructure funding, in particular for agriculture, as the industry is battered by tariffs. Mayor Scott Gillingham also said he was happy to see the infrastructure fund and hopes money will be available for widening Kenaston, extending Chief Peguis Trail, and the third phase of the North End Water Pollution Control Centre.
We've got a couple of great investments here in Manitoba with the GATE project in Winnipeg, with the Prairie Innovation Centre in Brandon. These are ways that the federal government can use some of these infrastructure dollars to send a signal that they have our ag industries back.
Well, I see this as an opportunity to get the federal funding for the third phase, which will be really critical to keeping water and sewer rates affordable for Winnipeggers, and that's vital.
The Liberal government is also pledging nearly $82 billion over 5 years on defense and security. The mayor welcomed that, saying Winnipeg is ready for investment, pointing to the city's aerospace industry and 17 Wing.
So, Jeff, what was missing from this federal budget then?
The premier was pretty clear today. He said healthcare dollars. Kinew says there was an opportunity missed today to show bilateral funding agreements for healthcare will continue. He says one of them, worth $150 million, expires next year.
All right, thanks for this, Jeff. And tonight, some are wondering why more concrete measures to help with the affordability crisis also seem to be missing from the budget. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on that.
We choose to invest.
Nearly 7 months after getting elected, the Carney government has dropped its first budget, a 406-page book it promises will build Canada strong. Over the next 5 years, Ottawa intends to spend $141 billion in new measures that they project will bring in $51.2 billion in savings. Together, those measures will take Canada's deficit to $78.3 billion this year, dropping to $56.6 billion by 2029-2030.
It's well within the range that people had expected, and people also understand that 75% of what we recorded this year, you would have seen that at the very beginning, was to defend our sovereignty.
One of the biggest expenditures, defense, with $81.8 billion in spending over 5 years. There's $20.4 billion for the military's recruitment and retention problems, $10.9 billion for upgrades, and $17.9 billion to expand new military capabilities, including procuring new armored vehicles.
It's a real big injection of money, but really interestingly, they don't provide any annual investment or expenditure total. There's no articulation of where year by year that would take us as a share of GDP.
There's also $51 billion over 10 years for a new Build Community Strong Fund to help fund new infrastructure projects, $1.7 billion for an international talent attraction strategy, and $13 billion over 5 years starting in 2025-2026 for Build Canada Homes. That includes $2.8 billion for Indigenous housing. One way Ottawa is bringing down the deficit through changes to the public service. Ottawa wants to shed 28,000 public sector jobs within the next 3 years through cuts, attrition, and a move to incentivize voluntary leave and early retirement. How much that alone will save and where the cuts are coming from is unclear. Ottawa is also hoping to save $60 billion over 5 years through modernization and government efficiencies.
Canada's new government is spending less on government operations. Canadians understand that. You need to put the house in order.
But aside from a promise to review bank fees and to automatically file taxes for lower-income Canadians, experts say there's little that will help with affordability.
I think if you're the average Canadian, you're looking at this budget, you're going to say, well, it doesn't change my life very much. You know, I'm concerned about affordability, I'm concerned about housing costs, and lots of concerns. It doesn't really address any of those things specifically.
Instead, many economists say the budget's aim is to create a better environment for business through measures like a so-called productivity super deduction. The budget also sets the stage for the elimination of the oil and gas emissions cap, a move the industry and the provincial government in Alberta have been calling for as a way to encourage more investment in the sector.
This is a budget that focuses on capital investment because of the context that we are in right now. The economy is quite weak and is under attack because of the tariff issues, and we have a significant uncertainty in the Canadian economy, so businesses are not investing.
For the first time, the budget has been separated into capital investment and operational spending. By 2028-2029, this document anticipates that the operational budget will have a surplus of $1.7 billion. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
The Liberals will need help in order to have enough votes to pass the budget. Here's what the opposition parties had to say.
The cost of this Liberal budget will drive up the cost of food, housing, and everything else that Canadians buy. And the Prime Minister has broken every single promise he made just 7 short months ago. He promised a $62 billion deficit. He delivered nearly an $80 billion deficit, $16 billion bigger than he promised and twice the size that his predecessor left behind.
We're not telegraphing anything. I'm a Jack Layton, New Democrat. We came to Parliament to make Parliament work. We want to be propositional, and we want to give this budget the serious once-over that it deserves. And we want to consult with Canadians.
I hardly see how, after having met with our caucus tonight, we could vote in favor of this budget. This is a red conservative budget which Mr. Harper might have signed. And there's nothing for Quebecers in there.
We will have more reaction to the federal budget, including a closer look at what it does and doesn't do for your pocketbook, coming up a little later. Returning now to Winnipeg, a child care center was sent into lockdown as gunshots rang out in West Broadway this morning. Police say multiple units were sent to the area Furby Street and Cornish Avenue near Misericordia Health Center after several reports of shots being fired. Spent shell casings could be seen littering the sidewalk as police investigated. A spokesperson says a female was arrested but couldn't provide their name or age or say whether they had been charged. No injuries were reported. The Public Service is recommending the city start setting money aside in anticipation of snow clearing season. It wants councillors to approve a $7 million over expenditure for the Public Works Department. A city report says the money should be made ready to pay contractors in case there are some heavy snowfalls in the last quarter of the year. In its last multi-year budget, the city added incremental increases to the snow clearing budget, which has historically fallen short. The Public Service says without those changes, it would be asking for an over expenditure closer to $14.5 million. Colleen Brady joins us now with the first look at your Skywatch forecast, and hopefully there's no snow in it just yet.
Not just yet, but by the end of this week, there will be snow in Manitoba, courtesy of the next Alberta Clipper that will be developing very soon. I will have all those details and what we know so far about where we're expecting to see snow in Manitoba, where we could see rain and where we could see, frankly, a mix of the two, and then how much colder it's going to get once it all passes by. Let's take a look right now, though, first through the Bathfitter Live Eye. Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. No snow tonight in Winnipeg Winnipeg, folks. In fact, the sky will be clearing as we go throughout the next few hours. Currently 5 degrees. Light winds out of the west-southwest at 10 kilometers an hour. The pressure is dropping and the humidity right now, Marilee, is 69%.
Thanks, Colleen. 3 people are facing charges after officers with the Manitoba First Nation Police Service were allegedly shot at during a chase Monday. RCMP say it all started around 4 a.m. when officers were attempting to stop a stolen vehicle in Sandy Bay First Nation. The vehicle failed to stop, and as it was driving away, officers say someone inside that vehicle shot at them. Mounties were then called to help, and about 10 hours later, the vehicle was found and brought to a stop near Silver Ridge, just east of Alonza. A man and 2 women between the ages of 21 and 35, all from Sandy Bay, were arrested. Some good news tonight for Winnipeg electric vehicle owners who had been denied a provincial rebate on his Jeep for months. As Harrison Shin shows us, as Manitobans make the switch to electric vehicles and hope to cash in on the rebate, the devil is in the details.
Luigi Iafola picked this pre-owned 2021 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon plug-in hybrid in order to make his daily commute cheaper.
With this vehicle, I figure I had the best of both worlds, being a plug-in hybrid and then being able to take it on long trips if I needed so.
One of the things that drew him to the Jeep was Manitoba's electric vehicle rebate program, offering up to $4,000 back. He did his homework, and the model he bought was eligible according to the province's own website. After the sale in April, he went to Manitoba Public Insurance to check his VIN.
I tried to punch it in, and then it said that it came back invalid, that my vehicle was too old.
But this April 30th, 2025 list of eligible vehicles shows his model. He wrote several emails asking for the $2,500 rebate to be honored, but they said no because only vehicles younger than 4 model years can be claimed. So CTV News asked the province, and he got the result he wanted. A spokesperson said, quote, Manitoba Environment and Climate Change has reached out to the individual in question to advise him that his purchase remains eligible for the rebate. Iafola is happy things worked out for him, but he would like to see some changes to the program.
I would say go back maybe to 5 years and make it reasonable, because if you're going to put a certain price limit on it, cars are getting more expensive, especially EVs. I understand it based on budgets and funds. They only have so much that they can support. It's great they're doing this, but I would like to see it expanded a little bit more.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A city of more than 10,000 people has pulled out of Manitoba's capital planning region. The city of Selkirk has officially now left the group. The Planning Capital Region, or CPR, is a group of several municipalities, including Winnipeg, Niverville, Stonewall, Headingley, and Springfield. It was created by the previous PC government. However, the Canoe government passed legislation giving municipalities the opportunity to opt in or out.
By leaving CPR, it restores our autonomy. We are free to make, our own land use, I would say our own municipal decisions. It ensures that our economic, environmental, and social development will be made by the locally elected council.
The CPR's mandate is to improve social and economic development by coordinating sustainable land use. Even though Selkirk won't be part of it, Mayor Larry Johansson says Selkirk will continue working alongside the provincial government. The province says it will pay fair market value tonight to Oak Bluff residents affected by expropriation. Business owners and residents are crying foul over plans to build a highway interchange at the junction of PTH3 and the Perimeter Highway. CTV's Joseph Bernacki spoke with the minister in charge and also talked to an apiary owner who says the wait to find out what's going on is casting a long shadow over its future.
The best way I can describe it, it's a great cloud that just won't leave right now.
Kon Peseshnikov and his wife Julie have created a buzz here for over a decade. Bee-Boys is the first meadery to use their own honey in the province.
We care deeply about our bees as well as our family-run operation. We love working with our kids as well as our employees. We are a real hive.
But the dream they've built may soon be over as the province prepares to take their land for a new highway interchange at the junction of Provincial Trunk Highway 3 and the Perimeter. The former PC government told the family in 2023 their 11 acres were at risk, but they say they haven't heard from the NDP government since.
It's been very, very challenging. A lot of emails have been sent unanswered. The neighbors in the area have a lot of concerns, and no one really knows what's going on.
Lisa Naylor, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, says they and 18 other property owners will be given fair market value for their land and that consultations are ongoing.
I can't imagine how hard that must be for folks who see their land being procured for highway infrastructure. It happens across the province whenever we need to create our highways to be safer.
But that's cold comfort to Julie, who says beekeeping is a part of their family legacy.
Con and I have been married for 35 years, and we created our home here. We brought up our 3 kids here. We are really trying to grow this small family business. We just want this to survive.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A program aimed at catching reading difficulties in young children is being made permanent. Bill 225 passed its 3rd reading unanimously at the Manitoba legislature earlier today. It means all students in kindergarten to grade 4 will be screened for learning disabilities such as dyslexia. Twice a year, teachers will be required to report the results to parents within 30 days of the test.
Unfortunately, children can slip through the cracks right now, and what's often referred to as a wait to fail model, where we're waiting and hoping that they grow out of their reading difficulties. That happened with both of my children. I think if this would have been in place in kindergarten, they would have been flagged almost as soon as they walked into school, and we would have been able to provide them the support they needed.
Education Minister Tracy Schmidt says she'll work with school divisions and other groups to determine what specific screening tools will be used. It's expected to be in place in time for the new school year next fall. A break is coming for Manitoba manufacturers, how the province plans to put more money in their pockets. Taking a look at the markets tonight, crude oil lost 49 cents. The Canadian dollar slipped below 71 cents U.S. Gold dropped $53. The TSX fell 497 points. The Dow Jones is down 251 points, while the Nasdaq finished the day 486 points lower. People living on the prairies report being disproportionately impacted by U.S. tariffs. That's according to the latest poverty and socioeconomic report by the Salvation Army. It found 69% of households in Manitoba say they've been directly impacted by the ongoing trade dispute, which is the highest in the country. 49% of respondents also said they're concerned about not having enough income to cover basic needs, 8 points higher than a year ago. Angus Reid surveyed more than 1,500 Canadians between September 12th and 16th for the report. It can't be assigned a margin of error, though, as the respondents were members of the Angus Reid Forum and therefore were not chosen at random. Manitobans in the manufacturing industry could see some tax relief when they make their next purchase. The province has introduced legislation turning part of an existing manufacturing investment tax credit into a retail sales tax exemption. It means if a business buys qualified machinery or equipment, they would get an immediate reduction on the sales tax they would ordinarily have to pay. The Canoe government says this will ease upfront costs for businesses. The impact of U.S. tariffs is an underlying theme in Ottawa's budget today. They've also been a major focus of Canada's premiers as questions continue to swirl about Ontario's anti-tariff ad, which scuttled trade talks with the U.S. Now BC is backtracking on its own ad campaign. CTV Scott Hurst explains.
All of Canada's premiers have stood up and pushed back against the economic threats that are coming from the White House, notably saying, of course, that tariffs are not just bad for Canadians, but also bad for Americans and the American economy. Some premiers more forceful than others, some much more public than others. And specifically, we can talk about Ontario Premier Doug Ford spending millions of dollars to run ads in America. Now, as we know, getting under the skin of U.S. President Donald Trump, and in response, canceling trade talks between Washington and Ottawa. And while the ads have now been pulled, Ford is still defiant. doubling down on the successful impact of the ads, as he says, reaching so many Americans. Meanwhile, the Premier of British Columbia says his province has halted plans for a series of anti-tariff ads aimed at American audiences. Premier David Eby arguing the shift in strategy is to align the fight against tariffs with Ottawa, with the feds, BC in particular, greatly impacted by softwood lumber tariffs. Here's more from both the Premier of Ontario and the Premier of British Columbia.
I'd never apologize to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's trying to destroy our province, destroy our country, steal manufacturing jobs and auto sector jobs.
So we've committed to the federal government that when the time comes to be speaking directly to Americans, we'll do it in partnership with them. We will not be running the ads by ourselves. We'll make sure that we're in line with strategy going forward.
Tariffs will also be front and center tomorrow at the U.S. Supreme Court, as it will specifically hear arguments on the fate of Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariffs, which were announced with great fanfare earlier in the spring. Those are baseline duties on a whole host of countries, and the fentanyl-specific tariffs imposed on Canada, as Trump has invoked national emergency powers specifically to combat the flow of fentanyl he claims is flooding across our borders into the U.S. As the Trump administration argues the tariffs are necessary, but bottom line for the Canadian economy and the industry is forced to pay. Regardless of the decision coming from the Supreme Court, it won't impact all tariffs imposed on this country. The targeted tariffs hammering Canada's steel sector, aluminum, autos, copper, and lumber, those will remain in place. Those are Trump's industry-specific tariffs, as the Trump administration is describing the hearing at the U.S. Supreme Court as a matter of national security. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
A man considered one of the most powerful U.S. vice presidents in history has died. Dick Cheney was a polarizing figure in part because of his push for the war in Iraq.
Things have gotten so bad inside Iraq from the standpoint of the Iraqi people. My belief is we will, in fact, be greeted as liberators.
Cheney was wrong about that and about Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. Cheney had a lot of roles in Washington, but will be best known as vice president to George W. Bush, defending the controversial interrogation and detention measures which followed the 9/11 attacks. Cheney's family says he died from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. Dick Cheney was 84. Americans are voting in some key elections today. The most closely watched race is the one that will determine who will be the next mayor of New York City. Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani is up against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent.
We are on the brink of making history in our city, on the brink of saying goodbye to a politics of the past, a politics that tells you what it can't do and really what it means to say is what it won't do.
The most important election of my lifetime. And I'm not a kid, but this is the most important election of my lifetime. This is going to determine the future of the city of New York. It may also determine the future of the Democratic Party.
Donald Trump has endorsed Cuomo for mayor and is threatening to hold back federal funding for New York City if Mamdani wins. Elections are also being held today to elect the governors of New Jersey and Virginia. And voters in California are voting on a proposal to redraw the state's congressional districts. The current session of the Manitoba Legislative Assembly is supposed to end this Thursday, but MLAs may have to stay longer if the governing NDP isn't able to pass all of its legislation before then.
A significant amount of work has to occur on Thursday.
That work includes Bill 48, the drug detention bill. The PCs want a number of amendments added to the legislation. The standoff is preventing the legislation from moving forward. However, NDP House Leader Nahanni Fontaine says the current session will continue as long as it takes. The PCs say they're in favor of the bill and just want to make sure it's done right.
And Manitobans can let me know, as the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, where we are wrong in saying that we do not want this in front of a school, in a daycare, by a senior home, that there should be consultation and there should be reporting on this.
It's a plan to grow Winnipeg's economy and tourism sector. Winnipeg Economic Development and Tourism launched a new strategy today, the first event under its new unified name.
These are the real things that we have that set us apart from other places in the country.
A government minister, the mayor, and representatives from the private sector all gathered at the Leaf in Assiniboine Park for the unveiling. The agency collaborated with business, tourism, Indigenous government, and community partners. The plan lays out 3 goals: boost competitiveness and increase investment, elevate Winnipeg's global profile, and get community partners and leaders working together to drive economic growth.
Today is about the multi-year, 5-year strategy that charts our path forward. The world is increasingly competitive. Canada's changing, Manitoba's changing, and Winnipeg has changed. And so how do we respond to that as an agency, as the lead agency for economic development and tourism within the city of Winnipeg?
Winnipeg Economic Development and Tourism is a new agency announced earlier this fall, combining economic development and tourism all under one banner. Farm, Fork, Pharma. That is the name of an upcoming event by the Winnipeg Humane Society. The speaking event hopes to shed light on the connection between factory farming and antibiotic resistance. It says industrial livestock production is fueling the rise of drug-resistant bacteria, posing a threat to humans, animals, and the environment.
We believe there are different ways that we can be raising animals for food that would not involve using antibiotics and therefore would decrease somewhat the risk of antibiotic resistance to humans. It's a huge, huge health issue.
The event is set to have expert speakers and explore solutions in regulation and animal welfare to tackle the problem. You can catch the free event tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Canadian Mennonite University.
It's all within reach.
Some good news for organizers of the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. How many tickets are left for that big game?
And I'll show you this Alberta Clipper that will be forming before too long, or what it's expected to bring as far east as Manitoba. I'll give you a sneak peek. Thursday, likely to see some showers, but as I mentioned, don't be surprised if there might be more than showers. I'll show you why in just a moment. 4 degrees, but then in behind the system, a nice blast of colder air from the north means daytime highs will stay sub-zero for the rest of the long-range forecast. -3 on Friday, a mix of sun and cloud. A little cooler Saturday, -4, -3 again on Sunday. Both days a mix of sun and cloud. Similar sky conditions again on Monday with a high of -1. The Blue Bombers won't be there, but Winnipeg's Princess Auto Stadium will be absolutely packed for the 2025 Grey Cup game. Today, the CFL announced the big game is officially sold out, and organizers say tickets to nearly all of the Grey Cup festival events, including the CFL Awards and Gala Dinner, are also gone. It's another big win for the Winnipeg Football Club, which sold out every home game this season. The Grey Cup is taking place Sunday, November 16th, and if you can't be there in person, you can still watch it right here on CTV or on TSN. The Winnipeg Jets start a 6-game swing through the Pacific Division tonight in Los Angeles, and Adam Lowry is back in the fold after starting the season on the shelf. CTV's Daniel Helmerson has more on the captain's return to the ice.
Jets captain Adam Lowry is back as Winnipeg soars into Los Angeles tonight to kick off a season-long 6-game road trip against the Kings.
It feels like Christmas morning. I'm looking forward to being back out there, competing with the guys. You know, you never want to start the season not playing, but the group's done a great job.
The heart and soul leader of the Jets missed the team's first 12 games while recovering from off-season hip surgery.
You can't speed it up. You want to push. You want to be back out there as fast as you can. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to listen to your body. You have to, you know, just wait, which, you know, sometimes is a little easier said than done.
Lowry will slide into his usual spot, anchoring the third line, boosting the Jets' impressive center depth alongside Mark Scheifele and Jonathan Toews.
I feel real confident about that, not only starting with pucks, face-offs, but just the detail that all three of those guys have through the middle of the ice.
The captain will skate between longtime line mate Nino Niederreiter and newcomer Tanner Pearson.
He's not too much fun to go up against, but so I'm happy he's on my side now. But yeah, it's you know, he's a captain. You know, can be the heartbeat of this team, right? So it's a big add.
And the team will be looking to add a few more wins to its 4-0 road record over the next 2 weeks and build off their strong 9-3 start to the season.
We're not just winning games because of our specialty teams or because of our goaltending. We're doing it in all fashions now.
Coach Scott Arneal says leadership's been a big part of that, and having the captain back in the fold sweetens the pot.
We've leaned on some other guys, obviously had to take it up a notch while he wasn't around, JT being a new voice, but now to have him in there with those guys, certainly helps our room a lot.
Puck drop from LA goes at 9:30 Central. Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The Hockey Report, brought to you by Santa Lucia Pizza. Check out the game day special. CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
Colleen Grady back now with your complete Skywatch forecast and tracking a bit of precipitation for parts of the province tonight.
Not a lot, and certainly not what we're expecting in a couple of days' time. I'll show you that in just a moment. But if you were with us last hour, you knew right along the international border there's a little bit of precipitation picking up. It's now pushing a little further to the east, but we're on the northern edge of this. But if you're in places like Fort Frances or right along that southern edge of northwestern Ontario near the international border, you might get clipped by some of these showers that are falling much more heavily across Minnesota, but that's about it. Further north, a cold front is pushing in, and that's going to produce some colder temperatures for parts of the north tonight. Now, that front, it's going to stall out, and that's going to help with this Alberta clipper that's going to be forming, not tonight, but tomorrow night over Alberta, and then it's going to race across the prairies like clippers do and into Manitoba by Thursday. But until then, here's a look at that rain I was just showing you on the radar. So Fort Frances, good chance you'll see some showers come through if you're not already. A little further north, though, places like Kenora, Dryden, this should miss you, but again, it's not a significant system. With that front that's pushing into the north, that cold front, it's pretty dry air coming in with it, so there's really only the possibility of a few flurries here and there across the north tonight. Aside from that, we'll see clearing overnight, as we will down here in the south, paving the way for the sunshine to return once again across much of the province tomorrow and into northwestern Ontario as well. Enjoy it while it lasts, because things will be changing. As I mentioned, Wednesday night out to the west over Alberta, we'll have that clipper starting to form. And you see there's all kinds of precipitation with it, various precipitation types that, as I mentioned, will race across Saskatchewan throughout the night, overnight Wednesday into Thursday. By 8 in the morning, according to the Futurecast anyway, this model has that precipitation on Manitoba's doorstep. Now, it looks like this track is going to move along the Yellowhead Highway across the prairies. The snow, anyway, areas a little further south of the Yellowhead at this point could see a mixing of the two or outright rainfall like here in Winnipeg. But as I mentioned, don't be shocked if you see some flurries here as well, especially as things start to get a little cooler. But by Friday, it's behind us, but then we get that much colder air and much colder temperatures. Speaking of which, tonight we slip below freezing down to -1. The sky already in the process of clearing. Winds at their strongest tonight out of the northwest at 15. They pick up slightly tomorrow at about 20 kilometers an hour, still from the northwest. Sunshine returns. For your commute tomorrow, the temperature should be right around the freezing mark, up to 5 in the afternoon with that sunshine continuing. Up into the northeast tonight, cloudy at least to start, clearing overnight. Pretty strong winds out of the northwest tonight and tomorrow. That's going to send the temperatures in Churchill dropping to -13 tomorrow afternoon. Bright and sunny for the rest of the region. Thompson, sunny and -4 for your Wednesday. Partly cloudy for much of the northwest, but Lynn Lake cloudier and cooler. This is the effect of that front, down to -11. You see the rest of the region not nearly as cool overnight. Mixed amount of cloud and sun tomorrow around the northwest. In the southwest tonight, just a few clouds. -4 for Neepawa and Brandon, -5 for Brandon and for Dauphin rather in Swan River. Sunshine around the region up to 5 degrees. Winnipeg in the southeast, a few clouds. We drop down just below freezing. Sunshine returns tomorrow with highs between 5 and 7. And in northwestern Ontario, those showers tonight in Fort Frances, and then cloudy around the region with highs of 3 degrees. Our first weather photo takes us to Selkirk and a look out onto the river there. That lovely photo is from Ron, and this next one's very nice too. It's from Megan. It's up near Pine Dock. That's in the Interlake, looking out on the water there. Send us your photos to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
Music may be more than just fun to listen to. How it could improve your health over time. Reaction continues to pour in tonight following the federal government's long-awaited budget. The Liberals unveiled its first fiscal update in almost a year late this afternoon, and the first under Prime Minister Mark Carney. Joining me now to help unpack it all is Brian Borzakowski. Brian, good to speak with you.
Good to see you.
First, I'm curious, what stood out to you in this budget?
I got to say, what stood out to me was it wasn't quite or not even close to as transformative as Mark Carney and his team were making it out to be. It sounded like there were going to be major announcements, potentially changes to things that affect kind of everyday people and affordability. It really wasn't that. I guess the biggest thing, of course, is that deficit that's now at $78.3 billion. That's, about just under double where it was projected to be. It's $141 billion in spending, offset by about $51 billion in cuts, so sort of $89 billion in new spending. So there's a lot of spending. There are some cuts to offset that, but will this actually spur our economy? Will it get people, answer the question about tariffs and help us become competitive? That remains to be seen. There are some things in there like major infrastructure spending, $30 billion in defense, those sorts of things that could spur economic growth. But I will say it was a bit disappointing given all the hype that they put behind this.
Interesting. You're talking, and you noted the concern about the need to spur the economy, because a lot of people were saying, this really needed to be a Trump survival blueprint. Was there enough announced in this budget to see some real transformation or change when it comes to, giving our economy a boost and attracting investment?
It's unclear at the moment. The budget just came out, but I don't see anything in there right now. One of the big, pillars of this was $110 billion in productivity and competitiveness. And one of those things is called the super deduction, which allows companies to write off capital investments, as buying equipment and other materials and those sorts of things faster than they would otherwise. Of course, companies have to take advantage of that before they can write that off. So we'll see if they actually do. They're not going to do anything if they feel uncertain or they feel that they can't get ahead in Canada. And there was no, things that really make a difference to the average person. And when it comes to our own spending, the government needs us to spend too. So there's no sort of encouragement around tax breaks or anything like that for the individual that could help spur the economy further. The investments, sure, in infrastructure, that's going to get people working. That's going to help spur our economy. But I would say I thought there'd be maybe things more targeted to certain industries, sort of bigger announcements around things that really sort of touch on that tariff issue. But I haven't seen that yet.
All right, let's tackle affordability now, because this was a big issue for Canadians who need some help given the cost of living today. Was there enough to see any relief for the average Canadian?
Not only was there not enough, there was almost nothing. So there really was no measures on an individual level besides some very sort of minor things that it's not even kind of worth going into detail with, because there was expectation that maybe retirees would be able to keep more money in their RSPs or their RIFs after they turn 71, which would allow people to hang on to more of their investments. That didn't happen. There were thoughts about maybe sort of bigger corporate tax cuts or those sorts of things. That didn't really happen. So there's not much. I mean, on the flip side of that, I guess you could say it's good that they didn't touch a lot of the programs that do impact people, that $10 a day daycare that many people have taken advantage of, dental care, pharma care, those sorts of things were not touched. So people can still rely on those. So that could be a big thing, because everything you would think would be on the table in terms of cuts or spending, but there were no real kind of big measures when it comes to your own personal finances that will get people excited or will help that affordability. They did say, they're going to invest $25 billion in home building. Those things take time. It's not going to reduce home prices for people who are looking for houses now. There's no other measures that will help people there. So really not much on that front.
All right, we got to talk about the deficit before I let you go. $78.3 billion. Is this sustainable?
Well, that's the big question. Deficits alone aren't necessarily that bad. It just means that you're spending more than you're bringing in. But at some point, the government's going to have to stop carrying these large deficits. I mean, this is a big one when we're not in COVID. COVID was the biggest. This is pretty big for this time year, but we are in an unprecedented time with tariffs, so maybe they need to be spending more, and I think that's what they're trying to do. We'll spend a little more and we'll get the economy going. If that works, sure, then that's great. They'll bring more revenue in and then they can pay that down. They're expecting it to go down over the next 5 years, but it's still going to be higher than what they projected at for this year. So it's not great, but I guess it remains to be seen how bad it might be.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you.
The province is warning of another potential measles exposure, this time at an elementary school in southern Manitoba. It affects those who were at Emirado Centennial School in Winkler on October 29th. That's last Wednesday between 8:45 a.m. and 1 p.m. Anyone who was there during that time is asked to monitor for symptoms for about 3 weeks and check their immunization records. A shortage of prescription painkillers caused by manufacturing disruptions is expected to continue into the new year. Originally, the shortage of drugs containing acetaminophen with oxycodone, including Percocet, were supposed to last until the fall. However, the Canadian Pharmacists Association says medication with codeine, such as Tylenol 3, are back in stock, but supply remains limited for Tylenol 2 and 4. The association says other pain medications are being prescribed as alternatives. Well, if you listen to music often, you may be doing yourself a bigger favor than you realize. Australia researchers conducted a study recently and found people who listen to music regularly have lower rates of cognitive decline. They looked at more than 10,000 adults aged 70 and older and found those who listened to music daily had a 39% reduction rate of dementia. Playing a musical instrument was also associated with a 35% lower rate of dementia. Researchers note the study shows correlation, not causation.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
Up next, which bands are coming to Winnipeg this spring?
Hey bartender, do you understand? I need a good woman in a rock and roll band.
More bands are coming, and we'll tell you who. Stay with us.
Always running to keep up with the blues, I'm saying. No.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Absolute Britney, a tribute to Britney Spears.
Canadian band July Talk has an important anniversary coming up, and you can help them celebrate when they perform here in Winnipeg. Next year will be the 10th anniversary of the band's second album, Touch. The album won the Majuno Award, and in the decade that's followed, July Talk won over a lot of their fans with their music and live shows. They will be performing over at the Burton Cummings Theatre on March 20th. Tickets for the show are on sale through Ticketmaster. Meantime, a four-time Juno Award-winning band from the Prairies are also coming to Winnipeg.
Hey bartender, do you understand? I need a good woman in a rock.
The Sheepdogs will be playing at the Burt on April 17th. The rock band from Saskatoon has 13 releases with multiple gold and platinum records to their name. They've just announced a cross-Canada tour with that Winnipeg stop. Tickets go on sale Friday online at livenation.com. It's called the Moving Inspirations Dance Festival, a 3-day showcase of African origin dance, and soon you'll have a chance to see what it's all about. The festival is set to get underway Thursday with the first of 3 nights of gala performances. Each night will feature a lineup of both international and local artists. There will also be master classes and open dance lessons offered for dancers of all levels, including beginners. Organizers say the Moving Inspirations Dance Festival will do just that, move you physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Whatever dance that you know, flamenco and so on, this is the only festival that brings everybody together. Actually, that is the goal of the festival, is to bring a community together.
The Moving Inspirations Dance Festival runs from November 6th through to the 8th. For more details, go to nafrodance.com. Your primetime lineup starts at 7 with E-Talk and The Big Bang Theory. MasterChef Canada is on at 8. Catch The Traitors Canada at 9, and The Pit follows at 10. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
I'm here to see ancient artifacts. I want to see Tutankhamun.
And now you can. What's inside Egypt's sprawling new museum dedicated to the country's ancient history?
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&Teak Spa Salon.
5 degrees in Winnipeg right now, partly cloudy, winds out of the west-southwest at 10 kilometers an hour, dark out there. That time change. Well, we did get up above normal. Normal high for this time of year is just 2. We did get up to 7 and pretty much on par with where we were on this day 1 year ago, 7.1 degrees tonight. We dropped to -1, the sky already clearing out. Sunshine returns Wednesday up to 5 degrees. Then we've got that clipper that will zip across Manitoba, likely bringing us showers on Thursday. 4 degrees. We may see a mixing of the two into the evenings, showers and a little bit of light snow maybe. Then a mix of sun and cloud Friday right through the weekend into early next week, Marilyn. You see behind that system much cooler temperatures, not even getting to freezing for daytime highs.
Thanks, Colleen. The Grand Egyptian Museum opened its doors to the public today after an extravagant inaugural ceremony. It all kicked off with an elaborate fireworks and drone show. The $1 billion mega project has been promoted as the world's largest museum dedicated to a single civilization with nearly 50,000 artifacts. And for the first time, visitors can marvel at the thousands of treasures from the tomb of King Tutankhamun, such as jewelry, gilded chariots, and his gold death mask. Officials are expecting about 7 million visitors a year.
I bet.
I would be way into seeing this. I am fascinated.
Yes, it looks gorgeous.
All of that, yeah.
All that history. Beautiful.
Very cool.
Let's
all right.
book our tickets. We're going to Egypt.
I wish. All right. That is it for us tonight. Have a great evening. Hope to see you back here tomorrow.